beta male.
Beta male.
My grandfather was a beta male.
Beta babies.
Anyway, I'm in a bad situation just in life at the moment in general.
What'd you do?
Well, I've had a lot of medical problems for the last 10 years. So I haven't been able to, really live life and build my own life.
What type of medical problems are you having?
I've had a lot of problems with my body, and I've had to have quite a few surgeries, and I take like morphine pills and things like that. And it sounds crazy, but for the last 10 years, I've probably got 3 to 4 hours.
What's going on, guys? Hey, I'm sorry about my voice is still kind of not doing the best, but it'll get me through this this video. But yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about this video with Jesse Lee Peterson, and I've come across him, and I understand that he is controversial in many ways, but I agree with a lot of what he says. Not all, but a lot of what he says. And he lays things out in a very plain, simple manner and doesn't really hold back. And he can definitely be controversial in many ways. But one thing that I want to say on this, and talking about the young man that's on the call from Australia, who is suffering so many different ailments. I understand he's got to do everything he can to get out of the house. Get out of the house. I'm not trying to demonize the mother, but he's got to get out of that house. He's got to understand that energy is controlling. It's very controlling. It's very stifling, and it's very anger producing. And I think it's producing anger inside of him that he may not be aware of. And, it's something that I think people need to speak more on and be more honest on things like this, because right now, women run the world. And I understand that they want to say, no, men do the patriarchy and everything else. And it's like, no, guys, that's bullshit. Women, in a way, run the world. Men are constantly trying to please and show off for women. And women, to a degree, understand this. We are constantly trying to appease women in our lives. And in a lot of ways, that starts out in childhood. We understand that our fathers try to appease our mothers in a lot of ways. The mother is normally the victim, normally in whatever. And it's like boys don't understand to a lot of degrees. They don't understand that, and kids don't understand as a whole that, that their both parents are wrong for engaging in fighting or whatever. It's like, yeah, I get that. But normally, the woman always portrays herself as the victim in pretty much everything. It's like there's no accountability for what she says or what she does or how she deals with her husband. It's her husband's fault. That's what it is. It's always been the way. And boys grow up, girls grow up understanding this too, but boys grow up and they understand mom's a victim, dad's bad, she's upset about something. They're not dealing with each other. And the fathers, in a lot of ways, the men, the husbands, normally try to appease their wives. They will step in when there's a problem. They will step in when there's a problem with the kid. They will, and kids understand this. They see this. They know that the father is the one that steps in. Why? Because he understands that, yeah, of course, these kids got to grow up and respect people. Sure. But they also understand the buck stops here. And is a part of the fathers, I think, in a lot of ways, that are trying to appease the mothers, make their lives easier. And I think in some extreme cases, and not even really extreme, but fathers will end up throwing their own kids under the bus in order to appease the wife. Not always, but sometimes it happens. And, the women understand that, they kind of control things. And if they don't get what they want, all they got to do is whine and complain and be a victim. That's normally what happens. Conversation is thrown out, because they want to kind of whine and complain and yell and bitch and scream and whatever it is. So, it in so many ways, women kind of run the world. And what Jesse Lee Peterson is trying to tell this young man is that you've got to, for number one, you've got to get out of the house. You've got to find yourself your own place. You've got to forgive your father, but you've got to forgive your mother. You've got to forgive your mother. And that's something that I've had to come across in my own life, but you got to forgive your mother, and then you got to forgive your father, because your father, even though he may have been weak in a lot of ways, he looked at your mother as, okay, how do I appease her to make my life easier and to make even possibly the lives of my kids easier? How do I make life for everyone easier? Because, they can go off the deep end about something like very small. And of course that blows up, and a lot of times both the man and the woman are going back and forth and yelling and screaming, men are beta-tized in a lot of ways too. So, but I'm not saying men are great or anything else, but what I'm saying is women control the world in a lot of ways. And that's, I think, is what he's trying to tell this kid. One thing I also wanted to bring up is, why do, mothers get upset when their 19-year-old son brings them a girlfriend? Because she understands to a large degree that he looks at the mother as kind of a guiding force, as kind of a star, that guides the vessel, that guides the boy. And as he gets older and he starts dating girls, he's beta-tized. So he's going to replace, instead of looking to himself and looking to his God, he is going to look to women to guide him. So he's going to look to this new girlfriend. And the mothers understand this to a degree. They understand that, and they look at these girls in a lot of ways as competition, and and rightfully so, they are in a lot of ways. But anyways, I'm going to put a little bit more of what Jesse Lee Peterson had to say. I'm going to put that up, and then I'll kind of cut the video short a little bit, because again, I can talk, but my throat is still not what it was. So, but let me put this up for you.
Thank you for holding. I noticed that of all the things you said about your father, you didn't tell me one thing he did to you, which says that you haven't given me one reason that you hate your father.
Well, when you think about it, if my parents sold their house and then he stole the money and made it all disappear, then he's done that to his whole family, right?
No, No, Jay, you have taken other people's word about your father, and because they have turned you away from your father, you're now suffering for it. You're angry. God cannot help you in your life because you're separated from him. Satan is your daddy. And because you don't love your father, your earthly father, you would never be able to love God.
He's separated by the father, by his anger. His father on earth and his heavenly father. He's separated by anger.
Angry about your life and the condition that you're in. You're suffering the way that a woman would suffer. If you notice, a lot of women suffer sickness and diseases and mental illness and all kind of madness because they have anger. And what you've done, and I don't blame you because, it wasn't your fault at the time. You were too young to understand. But your mother have caused you to turn toward her, and you've taken on her identity. And so you have the mindset of a woman, and you're suffering as a woman would suffer. You have the woman diseases and everything.
Yeah, that's one thing I would definitely say. A lot of guys, they wind up taking on the identity of their mother, and so I agree with that. And then suffering all these different kinds of diseases and illnesses and everything else, and they have such anger built up inside of them. They hate their mother in a way from what she's doing, and they hate their father because they bought in so much of the bullshit that she's spreading about the father. So it's like, but the boys in a lot of ways are the ones, even the girls are but I can speak for the boys, in a lot of ways they feel like they're the ones that are dumped upon. They have to make right what their parents are suffering. And, it's, you see this over and over again, but let me play a little bit more.
I agree with all of that.
And so the way out, then, you need to forgive your father so you can turn back to him, overcome your mother, turn back to your father. And it doesn't, whatever he did wrong, it doesn't mean you agree with it. You just don't hate your father. Because if you hate your father, you hate God. And your life is going to be like a female.
Yep, I'm going to cut video right there, guys, because I don't want to have these real long videos, but yeah, I mean, that's really what I'm trying to talk about is so many of these women out there now that they are the ones that run the world, and they don't want to see this. They don't want to understand this, and they're poisoning. I'm not saying it's their fault entirely, but they're poisoning their kids. They're poisoning their kids. They had this victim mentality. They got this whatever, and they're always the victims of the men in their lives, the males, even their own sons. They are the victims. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. If you would, please like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks. You son of a